Welcome to Show Studios Fashion Radio, the podcast video series exploring the remarkable relationship between fashion and music. Every week we'll be joined by fashion's biggest names and the talent of tomorrow as they share their 10 life-defining tunes and the stories behind them. I'm your host, DJ Fat Tony, and my guest today hails from Brooklyn, New York. Getting her start in the New York club scene in the 80s, this queen of downtown cool was a friend and muse to Jean-Michel Basquiat. Before becoming one of London's most sought-after stylists and consultants, her work has been featured in Dazed, Rolling Stone, and for 25 years she's been stylist to none other than Tori Amos. Let's welcome the incomparable Karen Binns. Hey, DJ Fat Tony, and welcome to Show Studio Fashion Radio. And this week I'm so excited about today's guest. I can't even put it into words about how excited I am. I've known this person for so many years and we have so many disco stories. It's the incredible Karen Binns. Hi, welcome.
Hey, boo.
I've wanted to, since we started this, I wanted to get you on. You were on my bucket list.
Really?
For so many reasons, because I've known you for so long and you've always been Karen. Always. Wherever we be in Ibiza, we be in New York, or wherever we are, you're just Karen Binns. That's what you are. That's what you do. You're one of these icons of fashion in the sense that you know what you're going to get with Karen Binns. You see Karen Binns, the look, the style, the attitude. It never changes because it doesn't need to change. It's always, it's like a really fine fucking wine. Do you guys? You are. You really are. Because,
That's such a nice thing to say.
As you've matured, your presence has got bigger and bigger within this, especially within fashion. And what you do. And, I adore you, and I always have done from the very first day I met you, which was a very long time ago.
Very long time ago. I met you and you were really wild. But you're a really good boss, actually. You're a really, really good boss. It was amazing when I moved to London, how I was like the door girl in New York City. Uh-huh. And then I moved here and I became the door girl in London.
You certainly did.
And I did the doors for you at your parties. And you always had mad respect for me. Like, you just always treated me like, Karen, you're the one. You got my back, but I've also got yours. And everybody would say, Tony's wild, he's crazy, he doesn't pay me any attention, he don't give me no respect. I'm like, I don't have that relationship with Tony.
No, you never did, because you know what? You were the one. But, also those people weren't really they didn't get respect because they probably didn't really deserve respect. In all honesty, do you get what I'm saying to you? It's like always the ones that think that you owe them are the ones that you owe nothing. It just shows about how music and fashion collide. Mm. And without music, there wouldn't be fashion in so many levels, swinging 60s, all of that stuff right up to date. And we talk about this a lot on here. And I want to know, what took you into the route of fashion and doing what you do?
It's very weird. I mean, when I was working the door at the clubs, evidently I didn't realize that I had an aesthetic.
Really?
I had no idea. I just got dressed up.
Yeah.
I think it's because I had that look at the time in New York City, as if I was from London. They liked the look of me at a door.
Yeah.
Because I looked probably what they would call exotic. They thought, oh, great, she's got a vibe. But the reason why that started is because I did my own clubs. Uh-huh. I couldn't get into some of the clubs because I had dealt with racism.
Yeah, of course. It was very much so in New York at that point.
At that point. And I remember going to a club, and it was a guy called Howie Montauk.
Bless Howie.
But he was the one that said, don't let that word girl in the door. And that really, and this was the danceteria.
Yeah.
I mean, after a while, I was like a regular and, it was all fab and everything. But before that.
But, the fact that he said someone like Howie, who was a gay man, right?
Yeah.
A gay man, right? A very well-respected gay man for the wrong reasons. People respected him because he was on the door and they needed to get past him to get in.
Right.
Right. For him to actually use that line.
I've heard some great things about him, but he said it to me when someone took me there.
No.
And evidently he might have liked that boy that took me there. I don't never know. Anyway, make a long story short, because of that, I got together with these kids from Brooklyn who were West Indian, who liked ska, reggae, and I liked rap.
Yeah.
So we did our own club called Soul Boys. And I got the idea from a party I came to here at Battle Bridge Road that was given by 3 Irish guys.
Yeah.
And I liked the way the music was. It was eclectic. It was everything.
You're on about the Grey organisation.
Yeah, those type of guys. Yeah.
With Toby.
Yeah. So, and all that. And I went to a few. And
how genius was Battle Bridge Road, actually? Let's just talk about Battle Bridge Road.
That was dope.
I mean, literally, it was in the back of the arse of King's Cross. You went behind the gas cylinders and you went down to this like cobbled street. Yeah. And on one side of Battle Bridge Road were the guys that did all the reconstruction of old metal and stuff like that. What were they called? They always did the festivals.
I know.
They were like goths,
remember.
but they like built like these fucking great big tanks out of machinery. And then on the other side, you had these old warehouse spaces where people would do these incredible all-night warehouse parties.
No, seriously, it was the dopest thing I'd ever seen. And when I went back to New York, and that happened to me, I used to go to a club on Flatbush Avenue. And I took those 3 guys. I said, let's go to the city.
Yeah.
And we were the first person to do a illegal warehouse party in New York City. And we had it going for almost 2 years and never got caught out. And we had like West Indian food there. And we had like things that were put on the walls for people to feel that they were like in the Caribbean. But the music was dope. It was hip hop, ska, reggae only. It was a vibe.
At that point in time, everyone wanted to be in London, wanted to be in New York, and everyone from New York wanted to be in London.
Yeah.
And you brought that to London.
Well, I wonder if I did.
You did a lot.
Because everyone in New York thought I was British. None of them realized I was from Flatbush.
Mad, right?
None of them realized until I opened my mouth. But anyway, doing the door and giving those type of looks that I was giving, it was completely influenced by London.
Yeah.
And but it had a little bit more depth to it.
Who were you wearing at that point in time?
Well, Vivian was my hero.
And of course, like all of us.
Vivian, I used to make my own clothes a lot.
And then Suzanne opened that shop, do you remember?
Yes,
she opened that shop with all the Westwood in it. And it was just Westwood.
Oh, just Westwood.
So it was just like mini Quinnies, and Michael Costigan designed it.
It's
it
crazy.
was just like...
No, it's crazy. It was out of control.
You know what I mean? You walked in and you went up the stairs and it was just Vivian. It was just Vivian.
Yeah, and it should have been.
Yeah, of course.
Because, to me at the time, she was the only one that was actually doing her own thing, regardless of what fashion was doing.
It's groundbreaking.
Yeah.
And also, the fact that she'd come back from being like lost everything so many times. She got into bed with the wrong people, the wrong financiers. Yeah. And each time was, lost it and she had the shop shut down and she bounced back. Let's go into your first track, right? What we're here to do. This is a track from your childhood that's influenced you.
Yeah.
And what is it?
It's a song called Brother's Gonna Work It Out. And it represents me as a very, very young girl. I was 7 or 8 years old or something. And it was a track from a film called The Mac. Is it The Mac? I think it's The Mac. Yeah. Yeah, and it's about, a guy who's a pimp. In Harlem, and how this is the only way a brother's gonna make some money out here. Is
like pimping.
He got girls on the street, got them on the stroll, doing what they got to do. And he was actually, out of all of them, he wasn't the one that was really dogging them the way most pimps did, because he was so good looking. They just did whatever he said. There's a scene in the film where he's talking to a guy in Harlem who's trying to give a lift to the Black community in Harlem. And they're friends or brothers, from what I can remember. This song reminds me of the conversation. And the conversation states how we as a people are going to lift ourselves in a place where we can't have any opportunities but what we have right now, which is either selling drugs or pimping out girls. Yeah. Don't come in on my game. This is the only game I got. It's the only game I've been given as a Black man. And, at the time, my father was a drug dealer. Mm-hmm. And that's what I knew. We lived very well. My mother was very chic. My father was very chic. It's all of that. We lived in a beautiful house. Yeah. And I didn't even know that that's what my father was doing. But that was all he had the chance to do. It gives me a feeling of hope.
Wow.
And the song saying, brother's going to work it out. We have to work it out as a people to do what we have to do in order to make it. Also to get out of that category of this is the only thing we are allowed to do. Yeah. We must push ourselves forward. And that's still instilled in my mind very deeply. Like, I am not a Black woman without depth. I refuse to exist without depth.
Oh, you've definitely succeeded
bitch.
on
You know
that
what
one.
I mean? Like, and I probably will always be that bitch till the day I die.
Oh, I love that. I'm seriously blown away by that answer. Like, wow.
Yeah.
There you go. I knew today was going to open new doors for me with you, Karen. Okay, track 2 is from a film, which is really important to you.
Mm-hmm. Yes. This is when I became exposed to foreign films. Mm-hmm. And it was a time when my father was, he had come out of jail.
Yeah.
And my father was actually a part of, the film with Denzel Washington, American Gangster?
Yeah, of course I know American Gangster, yeah.
Well, the man that was arrested in the dry cleaners was my father.
Oh, get out of here, really?
So that part of my life, I was always trying to dissolve. Uh-huh. And I've never been embarrassed about it. I've always been, okay with that because that's real life. That's real shit. That's how people grow up.
But that's where that, as we just discussed a minute ago, that was circumstance.
Yeah.
That's where he was, right?
Yeah,
and you can't be ashamed of your circumstances. We can move on from those circumstances and change those circumstances.
That's the kind of thing. That's the kind of thing that makes me strong.
100%.
That's the kind of thing that makes me Karen. With this new one that I'm going to say is called the New York Herald Tribune, and it's by Marshall Salal. And it's like a 1950s bebop jazz kind of melancholic song. And the reason why it means a lot to me, because when I think I turned 16, 17, and I used to take myself away from my environment. Mm-hmm. Because if I didn't escape it at that time in different ways, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. And I told myself I'm not going to be the Black girl whose father was a drug dealer, who has no future. I'm going to see what's out there. So I used to go to the cinema on 8th Street and go to see foreign films. And this foreign film was called Breathless. Mm-hmm. And I know it's like a cult film that everybody knows about now. But at that time, people weren't even thinking like that. And I would buy the Village Voice every week, and I would look in the back section to see what foreign films are playing. And when I went to see this film, it's about a young, she's privileged, of course, white girl in Paris during the 1950s or 60s. Mm-hmm. Which what she's doing is she's like a student that her family has sent her there to study because she wanted to be a journalist. And I thought, wow, how frivolous is that? Is that impossible for me? And I saw the way she was rolling, and there was a hustle in her and a darkness in her that actually kept her alive. Not that she was near death, but she hooked up with a gangster. Mm-hmm. And if she didn't go the right way, she would have been dead too. So there was something about her that I thought, wow, this girl is one bitch, man. She's a survivor. Why can't I? That's the type of movie that made me say to myself, one day I will be in Europe. One day I will leave this place that holds me down and see the world.
I'm speechless already. I don't know about Breathless. The thing about it is, Karen, did you think at that point in time, if you hadn't gone to see those movies, you would not have got that drive to change, to move on? I mean, the fact that, a little Black girl, like the circumstances that you're in, wanting to go to the village to watch foreign films says a lot about who you are, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it does. I don't know. I guess because my mom would always encourage it.
Yeah.
And she would say, don't waste your time on stupid things like I did. Learn from my mistakes. There's a big world out there. And, you never know. You might be a quiet one, but read, go see films, go to the museum on your own. See what you feel is great for you. And that's what I did. I mean, she said it to all of my sisters and brothers, but none of them really did it the way I did. Uh-huh. I guess because I was the quiet one. Uh-huh. And I was quite introverted.
Fuck knows how loud the rest of the family are if you were the quiet one.
You can't even imagine.
Oh my God. One thing I'd say about her, you weren't, yeah, she's really quiet.
No,
it's never going to come out of my mouth. Hello.
Me now.
Not from the day I met you, you have never been quiet. Right, what do you listen to day to day?
Different kinds of music. I listen to John Coltrane. I listen to hip hop. And of course, I'm listening a lot to Afro Beats because of Wiz. He's really opened my headspace into why he works the way he works.
I mean, listen, let's go through your list here, right? Jazz, short beats, hip hop, Afro beats, deep house and dub.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they, on paper, they all look like they're different genres. They're not different genres.
Yeah, they're not,
they all blend into one.
Yeah, they do actually.
You could, you know, each of those, you know, it's sampled in most tracks that you hear today. Do you know what I'm saying to you? I have to agree with you around the Afro beats thing. You know, when I've been doing parties in the past for Vogue and stuff like that, and you know, Fashion for Relief with Naomi, and she'd be like, we want Afro beats, and I'd be like, oh, fuck off, you're not going to get Afro beats. I don't play Afro beats. And I went to one of my friends and said, can you download a load of Afro beats for me?
Yeah.
I'd never heard of Whizkid, right?
Right, yeah, exactly.
Blown away. Blown away by it. Do you know what I mean? Because it wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
You know, I hear a lot of different music in what he does, so he does it differently. That's why it opened me to Afro beats.
Yeah, I'm, you know, I think I was shut down around Afro beats because I don't like anyone asking me to play something.
Of course,
I don't take requests, you know, but it's like
you don't take requests.
No, you know that. But you know, the thing about it is just that because it was that, you know, she was like, we want this and we want that, and it was like, hang on, you're not doing the music. Yeah. You know what I mean? I am.
Yeah.
So I kind of, my wall was up around it. But when I actually listened to it, I was like, actually, wow, this is actually genius.
It is quite, because, you know, and it's old school. He takes a lot from Fela as well. And as a very young girl, Fela was played in my house. So, you know, there's a connection there for me.
Do you actually, when you listen to certain tracks, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that they're written about you or they're written for you? Because that's the beauty
I can
of music.
find that.
You know,
I can find that. See,
if
I'm feeling my life with it.
100%, you know, and also there's certain tracks I'll be at home and a music will come on and I just think, I needed this today. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I needed those lyrics today.
That's why when I wake up to John Coltrane first.
The incredible, you know, it's almost like self-affirmation.
Yeah.
If you listen to the right music at the right time in the mornings, it can set your mind into such a good place and put you onto such a level of happiness. Do you know what I mean? If I wake up and I've got dogs barking and someone's screaming, that sets me up to start barking myself.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
It is, right?
But you know, you know, there's certain times in my life where I've been at my lowest point and I've put a track on and I just thought, oh my God, these words were written for me. You know, and
how deep is that?
But you know, that's the beauty and the miracle of music when it works. Do you know what I'm saying to you? And also, fuck knows what the song words were. I probably changed them all anyway to make them sound like me.
But it's the feeling, it's the mood. Yeah. I also listen to a lot of Talib Kweli. One of my favorite songs from him is Blast. Then a lot of times I listen to Flying Lotus. Okay. And what that does is that gives me a melancholic feeling that my life is still at the moment. And so it takes me away from reality. So
it's almost like a state of meditation for music, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I'm working, those three things work for me because that means that I'm going to be in a good mood for the whole day.
Amazing. And that's what it should be. Do you know what I mean? When we find stuff that works for us.
Which is very difficult for a lot of people.
It really is. And I think that comes within time. I think it comes from a lot of lessons in life that we find what really works for us. And when we do find that what works for us, whether it be music or wherever it be, we think, why the fuck didn't I do this before?
For real?
Because but it wouldn't have happened before because it takes that point in time for you to be at your lowest or for you to be at rock bottom or any of those other things for it all to align.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Okay, what do you listen to when you're creating? I like this. I always like this question.
Okay, right. I listen to slightly alternative music that has a beat or that has a very deep bass groove line.
Yeah.
So the ones I've listed here I think it's the group Odyssey.
Yeah.
It's called Social Insecurity. Right. What does that tell you? And then I will move something from like that to some old school house tune called Hot Music.
Yeah, I love that.
And then I don't know if it's a band or what it is. They're called Burial. And the song is called Shell of Light.
Okay. I'll check that out when I get home.
Check that out. And then there's another one called Romare. And the song is Prison Blues. And what this type of music is, it gives me the feeling that I've been lifted out of myself.
Yeah.
And it puts me in the air. And I float through that air when I'm creating. Amazing. And when I hear it, and I usually put that kind of music on if I'm working with a designer. Because what happens is it opens my mind to things that I've liked before and things that I've been thinking about and haven't said.
It's a happy place.
Yeah.
You know, it's like where, you know, you close your eyes and you think of this happy place and it changes everything.
Oh, yes,
you
an
know,
atmosphere.
When you do therapy, right, a lot of intense therapy, they always say to you, go to your happy place, go to your happy place. So you close and you breathe, and you vision yourself sitting in your happy place and it's in front of you. And it calms you, and then they'll start therapy. Because what it does is it centers you. And it's the same with what you're saying about music. It centers you. So when you're working with a designer, you know what you're going to get from that track.
Completely.
You know for when it's going to open up all your creative pathways, and it's going to allow you to flow. Do you know what I'm saying?
It also opens me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So it really opens me to work with someone, because, you know, it's difficult these days when you're someone of my age and that has done what I've done. I have a lot of knowledge. I almost have too much.
What song best represents the sound of your studio?
Well, my studio would be between hard dub. So I put out Augustus Pablo, King Tubby meets the Rockers. Let's keep it 100. The beat is so hard.
That's fucking heavy dub.
It's like, come on now. You're going to get flavor when you walk through the door.
Yeah.
It's just pure
You're going to feel those vibrations.
Come on now. Like, I'm that girl. Yeah. Then I go from that. Then I'll have like my old school Mobb Deep, Give Up the Goods. You know, Mobb Deep is like, I'm still that girl in the streets. Yeah. I'm out here in the streets type of shit. Yeah. You know, like, I'm still badass. I still got my shit tight, you know, and I got to keep it tight. And it's a reminder that, you know, also with these different songs, of course, the third one is Money and Love by Whizkid. Yeah. It just keeps me in balance of understanding that my category is always going to be more than one. Yeah. And the music I listen to, if you come into my world, you're going to understand that I'm never going to be one category.
Can I just say it's quite admirable the level of respect that you have for Whizkid. Like
now because I've been working with him.
No, because you work with him. But, you know, a lot of people I talk to say doing this and in other areas of my life, if they're working with someone that they don't really have that respect for that person, but you it oozes with you.
Well, because he has a lot of respect for me.
Yeah.
He's allowed me to showcase him as a young Black artist who's actually with his head down all the time, really. I don't know if you would call it shy, but he's quite introverted. We're probably a lot alike. Yeah. We battle. Yeah. Okay. We come at each other. We're like, you know, this ain't enough. You know, we're always at each other's like, this ain't enough. But he's allowed me to really show what I can do with an artist. And what I do is I push them. I'm a pusher. And the respect is so mutual that it's quite rare. It's really,
I mean,
really
he looks incredible.
Looks incredible. But it's because if the music wasn't that deep, I couldn't give him that much.
Yeah.
So totally. You see, that's probably what it is. I mean, I have other artists that I've worked with that I really, really, really respect. Another one is Tori Amos. Yeah. I worked with her for over 25 years. That bitch is deep. Yeah, it's like all those girls that came up with her, none of them have stand the test of time that she has. She still sells 1 million copies. She still travels. She still tours, and they're all sold out.
She's still Tori.
And she's still touring. She don't give two shits. She's like, you know what? This is
and that's
me.
what shines with her, right? Come on.
Boom.
It's Tori fucking Amos.
But I'll give you another reason why I probably get along with Wiz is because he reminds me a bit of Jean-Michel. Yeah. In a way where he's unapologetic and he sticks to his guns and he's not jumping on top of every single other artist to collab because he doesn't need to. That's how I think. Yeah. So,
Let's talk about Jean-Michel.
Let's talk about Jean-Michel.
I love Jean-Michel. I talk about Keith a lot in my life because, I had a really good connection with Keith because we were both sluts and we both, and we both went out a lot in every country we went to. But with Jean-Michel, when he came to London, it was like, I didn't even know he was an artist because I didn't want to know he was an artist. I knew he was Jean-Michel.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
There it is.
And he was just this scruffy little kid that we used to think, let him in. He's fun. Do you know what I mean? Exactly. Let him in. And then he got, and it wasn't until later that I knew that I found out he was an artist. Do you know what I mean?
See, that's what I'm saying. See, that's how it is. If you don't have a vibe on yourself, you have nothing to offer. You have nothing to give if you don't have anything yourself. With Jean, I met Jean, I slapped his face when I first met him.
Yeah. I can see why.
And then after that, we became more like brother, sister friends. And it was the same kind of mutual respect. I see the same thing in Jean-Michel that I see in Andre Walker, that I see in Whizkid. See, these are three men in my life. They're hardcore. We argue and fight.
And all masters of what they do.
Because whatever they do is 200% real. I mean, Andre is extremely complex, but all the men I've just told you about are.
Yeah.
And they all, I think, have the light and the demon in them, and they're constantly fighting. But maybe that's what makes them interesting. And that's what allows me to be inspired, and I just don't waste time with airheads. I don't waste time with homogenized artists that don't even know who they are.
But that's a real quality.
And also in bad taste, I do not tolerate bad taste. I don't want to have any connection to it.
I can do you a list of people that we're not going to work with. Okay, right. This is one of my favorite questions that we ask people. What's the most important song you've heard on a catwalk show? And you've been to a lot of catwalk shows.
Yeah. I mean, there's a song that I like that has a very melodic beat, and it's by Lemon Trip.
Yeah.
And it's called Middleland.
Yeah.
And I would advise everybody to check that out. It has a very strong beat. It gives me the feeling of, you go to a Rick Owens show.
Yeah.
The depth of the Rick Owens show takes you there. It's like, there is nothing cheesy about it. There is a lot of thought involved. There's a lot of struggle involved. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of anger. There's so much emotion in a Rick Owens show. When I hear this song, it gives me the feeling of how you should look at a collection. And then the other song is my all-time, like you say, I'm not listening to disco. My all-time favorite, that was at the Fendi show for Kim Jones, Love is the Message, all day, every day.
You know that, right?
All day,
and we
every
knew
day.
Kim would have that in that show. You knew for well. There's certain tracks that because Kim's doing this with us as well.
Where you?
And I saw him the other night and I was like, I already know your playlist. And he was like, I bet you don't.
His playlist is crazy.
You know that, right?
It's crazy for his age. I'm like, how do you know about this music? He's like, Karen, I know everything.
How does Kim know about anything? Do you know what I'm saying?
No,
Kim knows everything
He knows
about
everything.
anything.
Like, seriously, he's probably
How long
one
we
of the
know?
most intelligent.
Listen. He's Kim Jones for a reason. I mean,
No. He's Kim Jones for a reason. There it is.
Do you know what I'm saying? Since he was 15, right?
Can you imagine?
And it's like he used to come to the clubs and everyone used to pick on him and I used to look after him. And he always says to me, oh, you used to look after me out of everyone. And because I saw him, who he was. Do you know what I mean?
When I met Kim, he came up to me and knew my name. He said, oh, you're Karen Binns, I'm obsessed. Oh, you work with Andre Walker. Or something like that. And I was like, this is the cutest kid.
Yeah.
And then I said, oh, you do jumpers.
Do you remember
when he was really young, really young?
Right.
And I immediately introduced him to Andre. I mean, I just thought he was an angel.
Yeah.
I honestly thought he was an angel. But I thought, my God, for someone so young, how can he understand so much information?
Because he's a sponge. When it comes to, that's why he's so successful in everything he does. Every collection is a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's the same recipe as Vivian.
See,
and he puts it all together. Okay, best music video in terms of fashion.
Please, David Bowie, Life on Mars. Come on now. Like, you can't fuck with Bowie. Like, for me, that is the epitome of an artist who understands the importance of fashion, but on his own terms, because he has the taste level to bring it. I mean, that video today will forever be copied. That's why I put Whizkid in a lime green suit.
And he looked fucking great in that lime green suit.
Dior, hello, like Kim Jones.
I have it in sky blue.
Because with Bowie's probably been definitely one of the biggest influences on how I see
It's his birthday
fashion.
today.
I know. Devastation.
You know that, right?
He's still the number one. Like, he's still the number one.
I did a meme
He's unbeatable.
Like a few years ago, and it was like, name your top 10 artists of all time. And it was like, David Bowie. Because that's it.
Like, how you gonna do
you
it?
Can't
like,
beat it. You
can't beat it.
There's for me, music is on so many levels. There's so many geniuses and there's so many, things that I hold up here, but no one can go that next level to Bowie. Do you know what I'm saying?
They could get in the line all day. They're never going to make it.
When it comes to fashion, when it comes to music, that's what this show's all about.
Right, exactly.
If you were to sum it up, it's like just David Bowie. Because, it's where fashion and music collide.
Yeah.
And he takes the music to the next level with the looks. And, you have Ziggy Stardust. You have all of this just incredible. Aladdin
Even when
Sane.
he looked like a sweet boy, when he played,
amazing.
When he did that video, Let's Dance in Australia, he still looked like the motherfucking man.
Mad, right?
He looked like that guy that you want to know, you want to understand him, you want to meet him, you want to sit down with him, and you want to listen to his music. It's like, for me, I do artists the way Bowie thinks. And I don't, like I said, I don't put them in the category that they're expected to be in. I always try to show and prove, especially if they're an artist that's been put in a category.
Yeah.
How dare you?
What track right now sums up where you are in life?
And this is an old song, a very old song that Tori Amos did, and it's called The Motor Maids of Japan.
Right. I've not heard it, but I'm going to go home and play that.
It's just so beautiful. You would never expect me to even know this song because everything for me is about a beat. But when she sings it, I'm in tears to this day. And the reason why, because I was with her when she was writing it.
Okay.
And what she's saying is about love and what she would do for love. And the love of everything, the love of yourself, the love of a man in my life, the love of the work that I do. And she's just talking about when she went to Japan and she watched the way the motor maids work.
Yeah.
And it was the dedication and the struggle that gave her the happiness and the excitement of tomorrow.
Wow.
And the joy that it will bring when you accomplish what you need to accomplish that day. And that's how I feel.
Wow.
And it's like, when I think about it, every time when I see her and I see her in concert, I always ask her every other concert, will you please sing this song? She goes, Karen, it's such an old song. I went, will you sing it? And it's the way she sings it. She's like a channeler. And I'm in tears because it reminds me of where I come from and how far I've gone and how I'm still in motion. And the beauty of that, I've been blessed to not have ever been on drugs because my brother died from AIDS.
Yeah.
Because the last time he shot up, he was junkie. He shot up, all his friends had it.
Yeah.
Had it, and he didn't. And he lasted like 10 years after them. But he died of AIDS because of drug addiction. So I saw it as a very young girl, that what I saw was the drugs were like a monster to me, trying to rip my throat apart. That's how I saw it. So that's the one thing that kept me in fear of it. And so I've never had that as a vice. But because I don't have a vice, my emotions can get out of control. So when I hear that song, I release the emotion and I remind myself where I am today and how blessed I am to be here and blessed to be good to myself, if that makes any sense.
Does that make sense? That's the most incredible question.
Or try to.
That's one of the incredible answers ever. I just think, you know, I'm literally loving today so much because there's a side to you that I've not seen before, that depth. You know, it's mind blowing. I'm going to ask you one last question, babe.
Yeah.
Artist, alive or dead, who's the one artist you would have loved to have worked with or would love to work with?
That's a difficult one. Really difficult. My God. I would have loved to have worked with Tupac.
Wow, that's a good one.
Because I would have loved to have shown the other side to him.
Yeah.
That's just not that guy from the corner, you know, ramping and raving. He was an intellectual and he didn't get a chance to show it. I guess because, you know, doing what he did in LA. LA is very, very flaky and they just do things that they think they should do with a Black artist like him. But, you know, the fact that his parents were who they were, you know, and, you know, the whole Black Panther movement being, you know, a huge influence on him. I would have loved to work with Tupac to show the brilliance in him in a much more alternative way. And I think that's a shame that didn't happen. I mean, I thought that was a huge loss. You know, David Bowie didn't need my help. He was already
David Bowie didn't.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
he gave you all, if not more than anybody could still give today. There is no other, but I would have liked to work with him.
Thank you so much. Long may you reign, and we love you.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Karen.
All right.